Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world that knows the Paul Skenes are just the friends we met along the way. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman, and I'm still catching up on sleep from the most bizarre, wacko baseball game I have seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it's so funny that first of all, good morning, Jake. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody listening on this fine Monday. It's so funny when you had, planned to go to this. It worked out well. He's debuting on Saturday. You were able to fly to Pittsburgh and go. And I'm sure you were thinking about, oh man, Paul Skenes, one of the great pitching prospects of all time. I'm going to get to see him. I'm going to get to see a masterclass of pitching, hopefully, right? And you did, but listen, even if you knew he wasn't going 7-8 innings, like you were thinking, I'm going to see some great pitching. And you did. You did.
And then I did
briefly. And then you could not have seen more of the opposite. Yes, you are going to tell us all about your experience at PNC Park on Saturday. Before we run through all of the series from the weekend and say goodbye to Dylan Bundy, who announced his retirement at age 31 today. Jake, we only had one sweep this week. Oh my gosh, the Rockies swept the Rangers. But we have to begin in Pittsburgh. We have to begin in Pittsburgh, where you were. We talked last week how you were excited to go to this because you had the FOMO of having not been there for Strasburg. I was there for Strasburg. And this was something that you were hoping could be something comparable. Now, of course, those expectations were probably unfair for a lot of reasons. And we can stop doing the Strasburg comparisons now. Like, I understand that's part of the hype train and that's whatever. But let's just focus on this individual day and what it was, what it turned out to be, how it did live up to the hype, regardless of the comparisons. What happened? I mean, you could take us through your day, minute by minute, but I mean, listen, we could go 50 minutes on this. We could go 10 minutes on this. How do you want to start recapping this experience?
I want to start with why I wanted to go. This was my Northern Lights. Okay. This was my Aurora Borealis. I wanted to see the magic, the spark that is Paul Skenes.
Just to be clear, did you see the Northern?
No.
Okay. All right. So this was like
this literally was.
This was your version. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't see it either. So I'm jealous. But anyway, continue.
I wanted to see like a spark of the magic. I love brief glimpses and buzzes of hope in baseball. And I knew that this would be that.
That is your thing. Yeah.
I really love that. And so I wanted to be in person for it. Also, I missed out on the Strasburg debut, blah, blah, blah. And the energy in Pittsburgh for this was different than a normal Pirates game, like undeniably. And the closest it got to the Strasburg debut was in the first inning, where Skenes strikes out Mike Tauchman to start the game. He strikes out Seiya Suzuki, the next batter, and he's up 0-2 on Cody Bellinger. And the crowd feels that and gets to its feet for the 0-2 pitch. And he ends up walking Bellinger. If he had struck out Bellinger, the crowd pop would have been amazing, and it would have been that highlight that everyone wanted. Instead, he walks Bellinger. Morel flies out to the wall. And Skenes kind of settles in to, results-wise, was a relatively mediocre showing. I would say he was better than the final line, and I'll explain why in a second. The fastball command, particularly to the arm side, was a little spotty. And I think that's just because of competitive rust. Remember, he, in the minor leagues, was just trying to check boxes. He said in the postgame that it didn't feel any different than the ones in AAA. And I think that that's kind of impossible. That's not really how this works. But the fastball command was spotty. He got behind in counts, and then he missed a couple spots with the slider. Nico Horner pops the first solo shot, 2 hits in the 5th inning, and then he gets yanked after 84 pitches. But just the energy of seeing something like that was really cool. It was really, really cool. It was pouring all afternoon. It was insane, dude. It's pouring. It stops raining. They take the tarp off the field. It's cloudy. The sun cracks through the sky at 3:21, and then Skenes emerges from the dugout like an angel. It was so freaking funny.
Yes. In that sense, that was, of course, what felt like it was the day you were envisioning, and hopefully, it didn't get delayed. Like, he got to start on time. But I think, and again, I know I said I wasn't going to keep making the Strasburg comparisons, but it is interesting because part of the Skenes story in the early going also, regardless of their comparisons to prospect, but specifically zooming in on this game, is wondering how long he was going to go. Now, part of that was going to be dictated by how he was pitching, but also because the matter of workload and pitch count has been such an issue, there was constantly, once we got past the third, it was like, all right. And, people are upset that that's, where we're at with starting pitching and how we're handling it. And that's fine. I understand that. But that was the thing, too, is you're always kind of wondering when it was going to end. Whereas, again, part of what made the Strasburg debut so amazing is he got better as the game went on, and which culminated in him striking out the side in the 6th and the 7th. And that's when it was just like, oh my God, like what are we watching here? Whereas Skenes, once he gets into the 4th and into the 5th, it's like, all right, it's just a matter of time. But as we see, to your point though, I would say I totally agree. Having watching it on TV, like the fastball command was absolutely the most disappointing part of it. It's not, again, this doesn't mean he's not like, he's going to have a good fastball, good command, but like that was clearly what was missing, and that's what clearly put him into bad counts. But the slider
the splinker thing is just stupid, dude.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing, and you could see there were some cases where he threw it where he probably shouldn't have, and it probably helped the batter because it was easier to catch up to that than to 100. But yeah, and the slider, except for the one that Horner hit out, was generally really good. So I think the stuff looked great. He was holding the velo. I think you saw how it played. I would say generally I was not disappointed whatsoever. I think the stuff looked like some of the best stuff in the world, as his AAA pitching coach told me a few weeks ago.
I also think it's worth noting Yasmani Grandal, who caught him. This was Grandal's, I believe, second time catching Skenes. Mm-hmm. He was hurt for all of spring training and didn't catch him at camp, and caught him for one start in AAA. And so Skenes feels like a particularly unique pitcher to try and sequence and call a game for. And so it's interesting that he, I thought he did fine. And he ends up hitting the big home run in this game, but that's a tough task for Grandal. And I think as the Pirates catchers work more with Skenes, they'll get a better sense for his mix, and that'll help more. I do think that the question of was it worth the hype, is kind of pointless. Yeah. Because it could have been worth the hype. It could have been the thing. And very rarely do we have anything that could be it, right? And I don't think that Skenes was good enough to warrant we won't remember his start forever, right? We'll remember this game for a long time, but we won't remember the result of it. I mean, he did strike out 7 guys across 4 innings, which is impressive. There were times where he clearly overpowered the Cubs lineup, made them look silly. And I think he's only 21.
I would say, and as we transition to part 2 of this ridiculous experience that you had, he struggles when he comes out, gives up a couple hits and gets pulled. If the bullpen comes in and closes it down and they just go on to win a normal, 7-3 game or whatever, and there's no rain and they just win and it's a normal time game and Skenes comes out, it just feels like a normal Pirates win, and the Pirates fans, even for that one night, can all feel like, hey, like this is the start of something. I think not that it would make the start elevate to some historic level, because the start was what it was. I still think that it would be feeling a little bit different than ultimately they did. I know the Pirates ended up winning this game, but it was quite a journey to get to that W.
Okay, so I'm now going to put you in my head. So here's what happens, right? Skenes gives up hits to start the 5th inning. The Pirates are up 6-1 at this point. 2 hits to start the 5th. At which point, Jake Mintz, head down to the tunnel. Here's why. In Pittsburgh, the clubhouses are on the other side of the underground tunnel, like away from the field, across the tunnel. Usually they're on the field side. And so what that means is at PNC Park, you can see players, if you're in the tunnel, go back to the clubhouse walking through the tunnel, which is not a public area, but an area where I can be. And so I said to myself, sorry, Kyle Nicholas, I want to go see what Paul Skenes looks like as he walks back to the clubhouse, right? And so I go down and I perch myself there, and Kyle Nicholas comes in, he gets 2 quick strikeouts, and I'm readying myself for Paul Skenes to walk through and get a glimpse of him so I can kind of write it. How does he look? Is he whatever? Okay. And then all hell breaks loose. Nicholas hits Ian Happ, walks Nico Horner, walks Michael Busch, walks Miles Mastrobuoni. And at which point, I am not watching this. I am down in the tunnel, following on my phone to wait for Skenes to come out. And I just hear groans, like 34,000 people groaning above me, and security guards watching on TV groaning. One guy throws his hat down at the last walk, okay? Then Josh Fleming comes in, walks walks Jan Gomes, and allows like a little dinky single to Mike Tauchman to tie the game. And it's like, wow, this is bananas. And then what ends up happening is it starts pouring, torrential. So they bring the tarp on the field and they delay the game. It ends up being delayed for about 2.5 hours, okay? I don't know that. I'm in the tunnel, okay? Still. I don't know that.
You're like, where's Paul Skenes? What happened?
I'm like, where is Paul Skenes? What is going on? Here's what I see. I see a little dinky grounder on my phone, like on the game day app. Then I see Andrew McCutchen walking through the tunnel. And then I see O'Neill Cruz and Connor Joe and all of the Pirates walking into the clubhouse, but no Skenes. And I'm like, what's going on?
You're like, did the Pirates quit after Kyle Nicholas
walked? What I thought.
Kyle Nicholas walked 3 straight guys without throwing a strike?
I was like, are they just giving up? I would. I mean, that's a tough show. And then I go on Twitter and I see that it is pouring. And eventually Paul Skenes walks through the tunnel into the clubhouse alone. Right. And it was like, oh my God, what a bizarre
because in
thing.
Theory, Paul Skenes was waiting for the inning to end, right? That's pretty standard. Starter comes out of the game, and especially if they are responsible for runners on base, they will wait to see whether their ERA will balloon not to their liking, or now of course Paul Skenes' case, whatever. That's very standard. But then you'll see them go into the clubhouse and they'll
right.
depart.
And especially Skenes is a guy who doesn't even sit in the dugout when he pitches. He sits in the tunnel. Like that's a thing that he does. But if you watch the broadcast back, you see him kind of being happy-go-lucky and smiling and joking with Jared Jones and
after he comes out,
Mitch Keller after he comes out, and then slowly as the inning starts to turn into a disaster, he gets more and more serious, and people start kind of leaving him alone.
So this is the other thing. Again, this does not compare. I watched every pitch of Skenes, and as soon as he departed, I left for a social engagement. So I also missed, like, my experience of this was I was just out with my wife and some friends, and I just opened my phone probably at some point during the delay, or maybe you had texted me and I was like, I'm sorry, what happened? Like it's one thing for Skenes' runs to get cashed in. Like, I don't care about that. I was like, oh my God. So I also was very confused when I checked back into this game. Now, fortunately,
there's a 2.5 hour delay. Game is resumed. Colin Holderman comes in for the Pirates and walks the first 2 hitters with the bases still loaded for 2 more runs.
Here go 2 more for y'all.
He got you. Anyway, Paul Skenes started an inning, and then like 2.5 hours later, it was over. It was one of the most bizarre things I've ever been in the building for. And the way that I took it in was particularly weird. Being in the tunnel, waiting for Skenes. There was a sense of it, and this is probably too harsh. It was like, this is not a thing good teams do. Okay? No. It is an unacceptable, embarrassing thing to happen. And the Pirates pitchers know that. I like Josh Fleming. I like Colin Holderman. I think they're pretty solid. This can't happen. And there was an element of it that was percolating around the stadium that was like, Pirates don't deserve Paul Skenes. This organization does not deserve this once in a lifetime thing, you know? So, yeah, it was.
Well, they've had a lot of top picks. Some of them have worked out better than others, as we know. And I am hoping the best for the Pirates and Paul Skenes. They have been very disappointing. They lose this series. It takes this miracle, I guess, comeback, you know, with the Grandal and McCutchen homers after the rain delay for them to squeak out this victory. Barely, right? I mean, even in the 9th, we have some trouble with Bednar, and they hang on for dear life there. But they lose on Friday. They lose on Sunday. They are, I believe, 18-23. which is not a very good record. But so that's the thing. As we very clearly stated on Friday, Paul Skenes could not save this franchise, and I think that was made very apparent on Saturday. But I will say this: I'm so excited to watch him pitch again.
That's the thing.
That's the great thing. And by the way, Jared Jones is also awesome. I know they lost on Friday, but the fact that these two are going to be starting, back-to-back starts for the rest of the season is awesome. It might not get the Pirates, into the postseason this year, but there are few teams that have two starters that you're going to be that excited to watch on a back-to-back basis. So they can take some comfort in that. But yikes, there's a lot else going very wrong in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, let's not harp on that now. In whole, I'm happy I went. It was a unique thing. Yasmani Grandal ends up hitting a clutch 3-run homer to take the lead, and McCutchen hits a solo shot, and the Pirates hang on to win 10-9. Skenes has to wait, obviously, for the whole game because he speaks after. And he's a hilarious character. He's so monotone and very boring. And I would gotta say, I think it's pretty calculated.
It is extremely. Yeah. It's and that's the thing. I know we sort of talked about like what his personality. You're not gonna get, if you are gonna tune into the pressers, you're not gonna be like excited to like learn more about his personality. But we will. I think we'll start to get glimpses of it. But it ain't coming out in the press conferences. I promise. That's for sure. It is very, very intentionally nothing. Usually a sign of a good ball player. Unfortunately. All
right. So that's what happened in Pittsburgh. The heavens opened. It was bizarre. I will never forget it.
Yes.
But the Cubs end up winning the series in part because the Pirates are a bit of a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Their offense is actually cooking pretty well right now.
Yeah.
Good to have Seiya Suzuki back. Cubs going to Atlanta for a 3-game set this week. So that'll be a fun one.
Oh, yeah. Seiya Suzuki was not having a good time with Paul Skenes.
No, absolutely not.
He
had been on the IL. He He barely hit it all.
I know.
Right? It was his first game back, and it's like, here's 101.
Yeah,
get your front foot
sequence,
down.
I think the sequence the second time was, I want to say, slider, splinker, fastball, or whatever. He threw all three in some order. 1, 2, 3. It was ridiculous. So anyway, all right. Cubs take the series. Cubs are still not quite. They're still a half game behind Milwaukee, but they are definitely looking like a good baseball team. Let's do the 4 series where a baseball team won 3 games.
When I think about big winners,
I
think about the Colorado freaking Rockies, baby. Let's go. The Rocks are hot. 3-game home sweep of the defending champion Texas Rangers. And what that means is if you sweep the defending champs, you are the defending champs. So congratulations to 2023 World Series champion Colorado Rockies.
Here's the thing. The Rockies before Friday, so they win on Thursday against San Francisco at home. They win on Friday against the Rangers. That was their first winning streak of the season. That was the first time this year that they had won 2 games in a row. And they said, hey, this is fun. Let's keep this going. Let's sweep the defending champs. And not just sweep them in a bunch of like Coors Field catastrophes. They just pitched the hell out of it. 4-2, 8-3, 3-1, regular ass ball games with Austin Gomber and Ryan Feltner, who is a good pitcher and I quite enjoy. And I think he would be really good in another ballpark. And then Ty Block out of nowhere dealing on Sunday. And this Rangers team just cannot find its groove. It's really that simple. Now, I will say, this was a great example. The reason why it wasn't a great example of this is because it wasn't a bunch of like Coors nonsense. Like it was just like good pitching or whatever. But the Rockies, as is true many years, will be playing like epic spoiler for so many teams in the second half, no matter how bad they are. Like you look at the teams that go to go to Colorado over the last month, like they are going to, screw up some people's seasons in a very real way. But hey, give them credit. We're not going to have a ton to look forward to, and I'm just happy for the guys in the clubhouse. I'm happy for the Rockies fans who get to enjoy a weekend like this, where you just kind of kick the World Series champs' ass for 3 days. Like that's fun. Who cares if it leads to anything in the big picture? I think that was pretty cool.
You get a banner for playing spoilers, so that's pretty good. Brenton Doyle. Who was one of the worst hitters we'd like ever seen last year, is definitely better. He made some swing changes. He looks more legitimate at the plate. He's not outstanding as a hitter, but it's fine because his defense in center field is so good for Colorado. And yeah, the Rangers I think they're going to be okay. They're bailed out by the AL West being total butt.
Yeah, that's a bigger topic we can kind of get into at some point. But who does Texas have next? They go home and face Cleveland this week and then have the Angels coming to town before going to Philly and Minnesota. So tough little stretch coming up there over the next few weeks. But yeah, Rangers just can't quite find it, but they will be just okay. Let's move to our 3-1 series. We had 3 opportunities this weekend. Both the Brewers and the White Sox had opportunities to mop on Sunday. Neither of them could take advantage. The Royals also taking 3 of 4 from the Angels. But let's start in Milwaukee, where the Brewers are they're good. I think at this point, I think we can say they're a pretty good team. The Cardinals, I think we can say at this point, are not. The Cardinals barely hanging on to not get mopped on Sunday, but oh my gosh, do they look terrible. Would you rather talk about the Cardinals or the Brewers here?
I would rather talk about the Cardinals first, because the Cardinals are exhibiting symptoms of bad baseball team. And some of these symptoms are members of leadership going on public local radio and saying things that don't make sense. So I'd like to begin with President Bill DeWitt going on an interview with Martin Kilcoyne in St. Louis and saying, quote, "The thing I chuckle about is when I see sometimes comments, we got to not show up to send a message that the performance this season isn't acceptable to the owners." The Cardinals have been so good for so long that the ownership group just assumes people show up when you don't win baseball games. And that is not how it works. You have to continue to win if you want people to show up and watch the team. And they have not won, and so people are not showing up, and that's totally legitimate. Then John Mozeliak, my president of baseball operations, went on KMOX and said, quote, these times are difficult. I still think Oli Marmol, our manager, understands the job. I think he knows how to manage, and I think he's trying to put the right combination of players in. But at some level, you got to have performance. I understand fans are not happy with myself. They're not happy with Oli. I don't think anything I say here today is going to change that. Correct.
That's for sure.
Doesn't this sound like a team that isn't going to turn it around? These are not the signs of a club that are like, oh, it's right around the corner.
Well, so they're 16-24. They were 16-25 last year. They were 10-24 last year. I mean, it was like even worse to start last season, but like it ain't much better. And last year we could at least be like, oh my gosh, well, there's no way they could be this bad at the car. But like, well, this year it's like, no, we actually just saw them be this bad. So I know there's some new characters in here, and I know some guys are older, and I know, but like what's clear, and I was texting with Derek Gould a little bit. I remember we had Derek Gould be fantastic, one of the best beats in the game. Had him on the pod last year. I remember when the Cardinals were a total mess around the deadline, and just kind of having explained to us what has gone wrong. And shockingly, it's eerily similar. Again, I know there are some same things, but so much about this offense has just gone in the wrong direction. It's really interesting that the fans are just so pissed at the infrastructure and so angry that the guys in charge are not willing to. It's like you always want to fire the hitting coach, you want to fire these people. You know, at some point the players have to play better, and clearly there's a lot going wrong here that can be the players' fault. Listen, we're a player first always. We want to defend the players. We want to say it's never the players' fault. Like at some point, these players with good track records and high expectations need to play better. And but to your point, yeah.
Based on my understanding of the situation, is the Cardinals are providing something of a mixed message at the big league level, compared to the minor league level. And so if you're trying to develop hitters, that needs to be a consistent strategy for them. Yeah. And so if they're being told something different at the big league level than they're being told in AAA, what do you want these 23-year-old guys to think and do? And so I still think that this is a problem with infrastructure.
I agree. I agree.
I just want to say, I think the Cardinals as an organization right now are in a pretty bad place. They have clearly fallen behind when it comes to player dev, particularly like this is a legitimate problem. Yeah. Just to put this in context, the last time the St. Louis Cardinals finished under 500 in 2 consecutive full seasons was 1958 and 1959. Okay. I'm going to say that one more time. That is a real stat. The last time the St. Louis Cardinals finished under 500 in 2 consecutive full seasons was 1958 and 1959. This is historically bad.
10 years before, John Mozeliak was even born. So this is a franchise that, this is just not what happens. And that's how you do think, like, okay, then what is the problem? How could it go this bad this quickly? And we're going to find out, because whether they turn it around or not, something is going to have to change in St. Louis. Meanwhile, Milwaukee, the team who changed a ton over the offseason, brought in a bunch of rookies, new players, changed the rotation, traded Corbin Burns, all these new players on the roster, to the point where even if we trusted the Brewers' infrastructure, we said, I don't know how good they're going to be. How am I supposed to know? There's all these new players. Well, it turns out they are pretty damn good. And Rhys Hoskins has been a big part of that. Of course, they have arguably the best catcher in baseball in William Contreras. He is just tremendous. Willy Adames has been spectacular. And now the debut of Robert Gasser is a big deal. Now, you might say, who the hell is Robert Gasser? Well, Robert Gasser was acquired from the Padres in the Josh Hader trade. And most importantly, he is someone that you can see having an impact on this rotation in a way that where you're still looking at this team and you're saying, how are they going to actually be a postseason team with this current rotation that they're rolling out? And Robert Gasser, while he's not necessarily oh my God, he's a top 30 guy, he is, I don't want to overreact too much to how good he looked over the weekend, but his track record in the upper minors, that is someone that can slide in and be a good starting pitcher for them. And that could be a very big deal.
Yeah. Willy Adames is sensational. I love everything about this guy. I need to dig in more. He seems specially beloved. Wherever he goes, people respect him, players respect him. And the Brewers are real, man. I'm excited I need to spend a week just digging in and really watching the Brewers to try and understand what's going on, because and them going up against the Cubs with Craig Counsell versus his former team, that will be very fun as the season goes on. 2 more quick series. White Sox take 3 of 4 from the Guardians. Sure. Great.
Dude,
I think this has a lot to the White Sox are looking
Tommy
better.
Pham's turned their season around. They're having a decent time now. They've won 6 of their last 9.
I think this has a lot to do also with Cleveland's lineup being pretty bad now that Stephen Kwan has been hurt and out. Cooled off a little bit. Eric Fetty is really good, though, for the White Sox as a legitimate starting pitcher. It's a good find. That's a good ad. Garrett Crochet nails on Friday. Struck out 11, I think, over 6 innings without allowing a run. White Sox, still bad. And I do think they will continue to be bad just because they're going to trade anything of value at the deadline. But I'm glad that these players get a little bit of joy. I think that's important.
White Sox win 6 of their first 32 and then 6 of their last 9. So Guardians, they'll be fine. But hey, again, you can't slip up here. Minnesota is hottest team in the league. Royals still very good, as evidenced by them generally taking care of business against the Angels in Anaheim. Kansas City continues to pitch it extremely well. The Angels continue to not do that, as they are a bad baseball team. I do have one positive Angels note here in a second. But Kansas City, again, I'll keep asking you, as you ask me, am I giving up on the Cardinals? And I basically have told you yes. Have the Royals swayed you yet? What do you need to see? I know there's part of this lineup that is still very concerning, and I think that's fair. But man, Vinny is swinging it well. Bobby Witt Jr. is leading baseball in WAR. Salvi continues to rake. And I just, again, to me, the reason why I've been compelled by the Royals as a good team is because of the arms. And I'll keep saying that. I think they got a good staff.
I think they're pretty good. I think the Royals are good. I think my doubt with the Royals just was the infrastructure of this team, and that it is not an organization that over the last couple of years has shown an ability to suck up wins and suck up runs and prevent runs. This smells different now, though. I think Brian Sweeney, their pitching coach, has been a game changer for them.
Yes.
And I am not willing, but I have warmed to the Royals over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Royals are in Seattle for the next couple days. So if you're hoping for offensive explosions, do not tune in to Royals Mariners this week. Should be some very good pitching. Quickly on the Angels before we take a break. They stink. They're very bad. I feel bad for Ron Washington. But also, like, if he really thought he could turn this around, I mean, that's Ron Washington. Like, I respect him because that's what he thinks he can do. But my God, there's so many problems here. However,
one more thing on that. There was a clip of Ron Washington saying that we still plan on winning, like we're here to win.
Yeah.
And that does come across as silly because this team is not winning. They are not built to win. They do not have the talent in that room to win, no matter what Ron Washington says. Ron Washington has to say that they have the talent to do that because he can't go in public and say, oh yeah, our team's not talented at all. We're not good enough, even though we all know that's the case publicly on this side of things. But you don't hire Ron Washington to run your team if you are trying to rebuild, right? And that's why this was in some ways an odd fit, because Ron Washington has always won. He's a winner. He is never going to raise the white flag and say we are building for the future, because Ron Washington doesn't have 15 years left in baseball, right? And so this is Wash trying to do the job to the best of his ability within the context, within the confines of what Angels leadership is giving him. As always, the Angels, it is an Artie Moreno problem. It is not a problem with the players who are there. They're doing their best. Joe Adell looks amazing. It's not even really a Perry Minasian problem, in my opinion. And it's not a Wash problem. It starts at the top. It starts with ownership. And I'm really feeling bad for Angels fans on this Monday morning.
But Joe Adell, I mean, incredible that it's coming together in year 5 here of his time in the big leagues. The kinds of problems that he had as a hitter did not seem like the ones that you could really fix in a meaningful way. And man, does he look awesome. So I'm thrilled for him. He's going to be the Angels all-star probably, which is pretty cool. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I guess a long way to go, but could be a pitcher. But yeah, I'm really happy for Joe Adell because it's been a long time coming. All right, let's take a break. When we return, we'll run through the other series victories. We'll fly through those pretty quickly before saying a farewell to Dylan Bundy. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Jake Mintz, Jordan Shusterman. Jordan, before we hop into the rest of the series, I just want to say, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is the most underrated city in the United States of America. That place rules. It rips. I have nothing. Awesome. It's great.
I'm excited.
I was just thinking about it.
I'll be back there in a few weeks. I'll be there for that Dodgers series. Very excited to be back in Pittsburgh. My wife went to grad school at Carnegie Mellon, so spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh. It is a great, great, great city. I totally agree.
Yeah. I think Paul Skenes is in the right place.
He will enjoy it.
Kind of.
I know Livy Dunn on the broadcast was like, I love Pittsburgh so far. And listen, she's going to say that no matter what. But I believe her. I bet she does love Pittsburgh so far.
Yeah.
Because I love Pittsburgh already. Oh, I've always loved Pittsburgh. There you go. Anyway, all right, let's talk about where should we begin? Let's start with, I'm making an executive decision. We're going to start with the Padres and Dodgers. Jake, because the Padres won a series over the Dodgers. They did it. I'm so proud of them. These are the series. Listen, I know, Dad, this is your World Series. This is all you care about. And, Shohei Ohtani didn't play in one of these games. He's maybe a little bit banged up. His back is hurting from hitting all those home runs. Who cares how you win a series against the Dodgers? If you do it, you should celebrate. And the Padres looked pretty good doing it. Their pitching actually really showed up. Michael King has been just, oh my gosh, has he been up and down this season. He has looked atrocious in some starts. He's looked like a top 20 starting pitcher in baseball in others. So I don't really know what that means for him moving forward, but I do know that he looked fantastic over the weekend.
The Padres have had 3 starts this year, scoreless 7 innings, all in the last week. Dylan Cease on Thursday against the Cubs. Michael King on Friday against the Dodgers. They didn't even get Cease in this weekend. I know. King on Friday against the Dodgers, and then Darvish on Sunday against the Dodgers. Even Matt Waldron was good on Saturday in the loss. And yeah, I mean, again, the talent gap between the Dodgers and the Padres is so significant. The Padres will not win this division. They cannot win this division. But the NL has been so blah in the middle The Padres are in that final wildcard spot by a game right now. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're a game over 500.
Right.
The Padres are totally in it. They could totally make the playoffs, especially if this pitching keeps cooking. The offense has been good. Luis Ariz had a walk-off single in his first game at home with the Padres, which was pretty cool. Jerks and Profar has continued to rake. I need a little more from Manny Machado.
I know. It's like, but I still look at them and like you said, like I look at them as a playoff team, and I know they've struggled to get too many games over 500, but I think they're capable of it. And while they've had some frustrating losses, like I feel pretty good about where they're at. And Dylan Cease has just been awesome. I mean, that is like, which again, I've been the highest on him. I feel so vindicated in how great he's looked, and then some of the improvements that he's made. Like that's been an awesome move, and Ariz has obviously helped too since he's arrived.
Xander Bogaerts has a 565 OPS. Manny Machado has a 652 OPS, and the team's one game above 500. So that's okay.
How has Chris Taylor's OPS gone down since I last? Chris Taylor has a negative 16 OPS plus. He's not even really playing that much anymore. And I don't really know what the alternative is, but Pages continues to hit. Teoscar is now up to 11 home runs. He's just been spectacular for the Dodgers. And they're still really good, really good. James Paxton was excellent on Saturday. He's 5-0 with the 2.58 ERA.
Dude, Teoscar is a hilarious defender. Hilarious. He's not that bad. He's really not that bad. But it's just the way he moves in the outfield is so nonchalant.
I know.
And he's a delight to watch play defense. Because if he was worse, it'd be like, oh, this guy is brutal. But he's just good enough that it's funny.
I watched it for 130 games last year, so I know exactly what you are talking about. Let's stay in the NL West and head up to San Francisco, where the Giants take 2 of 3 from the super scuffling Reds. I mean, glad the Reds got one, but the Cincinnati Ball Club remains on the struggle bus as they fall to 17-23. Their offense is just in a terrible place. Giants also not like feeling awesome about the Giants as they are, 19-23, but nice to at least get a series here.
Jung-Hoo Lee might have really hurt himself and be out for a while.
An update on that?
Michael Conforto on the IL, and so they are going to be playing a little bit shorthanded in the outfield in the short term. But the Reds have lost, I believe, 10 of their last 11, which is not. I believe that's actually not good.
Yeah. It's just not going well. Ellie, though, I mean, I'm going to write about him and steals and everything soon, but he's running more often than you thought Acuna was running a lot last year. Ellie has ran at 60 or 70% of the opportunities he's had to run, he's run. No one else is over 30 or 40%. He is actually going almost every time in a way that I've never seen in my life watching baseball.
It's Little League is what it is. I have kids who I coach who they get on base and they steal on the first pitch. And Ellie De La Cruz, I guess from a size and athleticism perspective, it is a similar thing. Let's move to the Braves, who take 2 out of 3 from the Mets in Queens. It was almost a sweep, but Brandon Nimmo hit a 2-run walk-off shot to win it on Sunday Night Baseball. I would say the highlight of this series. Atlanta's pitching looks really good. A week ago, Jordan, I said Atlanta has starting pitching questions. Since then, they allowed, I believe, 4 runs in 30 2/3 innings. And I think that makes me look like a bozo, but also I'm going to defend myself in a second. Let me just start and say Max Fried, no bid on Saturday, goes 7.
Again.
He's amazing. He's spectacular. He is going to be in the Cy Young discussion. He is going to be a free agent at the end of this year. He is probably not going back to Atlanta. Fascinated to see what happens with Max Fried. But what happens is Raisel Iglesias, the Braves closer, comes in and allows a solo home run to JD Martinez in the 9th inning to break up the no-hitter. After the game, when asked about it, Raisel Iglesias said, didn't even know we had a no-hitter. And I got to say, I've been there. That exact same thing happened to me in college. Yes. My team had a no-hitter. I came in the eighth inning. You were there.
I was inexplicably at this game.
You knew there was a no-hitter. I did not. Came in the eighth inning, retired the side, came out for the ninth, 3 outs for a no-hitter. I had no idea. Leadoff hitter, infield single. Everybody in the stands just starts clapping. Like, what is going on?
Well, it was like, first it was like, ah, and you were up by a bunch of runs. So it's not like it was like, oh no, this win is in jeopardy. That was so funny. Good times. So anyway, at least infield single better than a homer, I guess.
Very quickly on Braves pitching. Here's where I'm at. I'm just going to explain what I'm saying. The rotation right now is Max Fried, very good. Charlie Morton, very good, but 40 years old. Reynaldo Lopez, incredibly good. What a success story. Hasn't thrown over 66 innings since 2019. Chris Sale, great ad for them over the offseason for Von Grisham. He hasn't thrown over 102 innings since 2019. And then Bryce Elder, I just don't think is someone you can start in the postseason. And so what that means in my mind is that they're like one very possible pitching injury away from Bryce Elder having to start a postseason game, right? And considering Chris Sale's been on the IL so much recently, Charlie Morton is 40 and missed the DS last year, and then Lopez hasn't really been extended. I'm fascinated to see how they try and keep those guys fresh for October. Are they going to skip starts? Are they going to phantom IL them? How are they going to give them a bit of a rest? And in my mind, what is really crucial for the Braves, who are obviously going to be in the postseason, right? They will be in the postseason. And I feel really good that they will win this division when the dust settles, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens with their top two pitching prospects, Hurston Waltrip and AJ Smith-Shawver, I think is so important to their postseason shot, because if all the guys that are pitching for them right now stay healthy, like, great. I'm going to take the under on that. What that means is they need somebody else who can go through a lineup twice in October, right? And I think the best shot for that in their organization is either Smith-Shawver or Waldrop, probably Smith-Shawver, because I think he's really special. And so the telltale sign in like a month and a half is when these guys come up, how do they perform against big league hitters? Are they people that the Braves can trust come October? Because, and that's not to take anything away from what the rotation has done so far. They've been unbelievable covering for the Spencer Strider injury. And I just don't think there's really anything the guys currently in the rotation can do to change that other than continue to pitch. And they've done that. But I'm going to just remain somewhat skeptical until like July, if that makes sense.
I mean, even longer than that, right? I mean, you described the workload of those pitchers and what we can and can't expect due to injury, due to age, due to not having been a starting pitcher recently. All those are fair questions. Dylan Dodd and Darius Vines also kind of making starts in AAA. We've seen them make starts. But yeah, Smith-Shawver, he's got an ERA of 6 right now in AAA, but he's 21, still striking out a lot of guys. Waldrop's still in AA. So I agree with you. I think how they develop and when they choose, what that rotation starts to look like in that 5 spot starts to look like down in the second half is going to be really interesting.
The Braves are like a basketball team. It's like, oh, okay, well, what's going to happen in the postseason? We're just like, we're going to make the playoffs.
Let's just skip. We know we're in. We don't even really care about seeding. Let's just get there, and then we will figure it out. The Mets, I have no idea. The Mets and the Red Sox are just like, I have no idea. They look so bad on one day, and then I'm like, well, they still have a lot of good players, so maybe they're decent. Yeah. Let's move on to the Mariners of Seattle, who take 2 of 3 over Oakland. Oakland, remember, they are no longer you just kick Oakland's ass. That's easy. No, you can't say that. And so taking 2 of 3 from Oakland is fine. That's fine. Now, the problem is that the Mariners offense continues to look totally asleep. They looked a lot better on Friday, not as much on Saturday. Better on Sunday. Julio, a much-needed home run. Boy, has he been struggling, just swinging at everything, striking out a ton as some of the rest of the lineup has started to heat up. Really needed that homer. Hopefully he can get going. Did the same thing in the last 2 seasons where he's really started to get going, as we get to May and June. So no shock there. But I would say, and also Cal Raleigh's just awesome. I mean, talk about a player who's, kind of established himself as one of the best at his position this year. He is just tremendous. But I have to shout out Brent Rooker, who has an OPS over 1,000 now in over 100 plate appearances and has been one of the best hitters. He's been even better than he was last year when he was an all-star in the first half. And if you look at his Savant page, it absolutely backs it up. He has been tremendous. And I hope he stays on the A's. I know there's still going to be a team that's probably looking to deal some guys, but it's just been really cool to see Rooker be even better than he was last year.
Remember over the winter, or I guess in spring training, when the A's released the mock-up of the new stadium, including the scoreboard that had Brent Rooker hitting 301, and our friend Foolish Baseball tweeted, I like Brent Rooker, but the idea of him hitting 301 seems impossible. Well, Mr. Bailey, Brent Rooker has a 292 batting average, so stay tuned.
He has been so good. All right. That is the Mariners. They take care of business somewhat over the A's. As I mentioned, they play Kansas City this week at home. Let's move to your favorite team, Jake, the Baltimore Orioles. So tell me what happened in this series.
Yeah, they won. They won Friday, they won Saturday, and they lost on Sunday. Friday was fun because the owner, David Rubenstein, pretended to be Mr. Splash and went out to the outfield. The Orioles do a thing. They have a guy with a hose in the outfield, and whenever they get an extra base hit or score a run, he sprays the crowd with water. It's all part of the Orioles water theme based upon the bird bath motif. But the owner went out there and sprayed the crowd down, and they won on Friday night. They won on a Jordan Westburg walk-off kind of dink single on Saturday. Diamondbacks take the game on Sunday. Corbin Carroll looks a lot better, actually. The results weren't quite there over the weekend, but he's hitting balls harder. He looks more like Corbin Carroll.
And everything I wrote about with him last week, this is going to be a process. The kind of swing changes he's trying to make are not just going to take immediately. So I'm excited to see him start to heat up. Arizona, again, you would like to see them carry a little bit more momentum after their sweep in Cincinnati. They have Cincinnati again this week at home, which is interesting, and then Detroit. So we'll see if they can get back over 500 here in the near future.
Yankees over the Rays. Jahmai Jones, one of my favorite dudes in baseball, with a huge home run on Mother's Day, his first big league homer. Jahmai Jones has been on the Yankees roster, 26-man roster, since opening freaking day. He, before Sunday, I believe, had tallied 6 plate appearances. 6 plate appearances. Okay? That is Charlie Culberson levels of just here to hang out with the boys. Jones goes yard on Sunday. Yankees win. I believe it was quite a squeaker there after a Jose Suri grand slam late. Yankees take 2 out of 3 from Tampa. The magic of Skady Ray, has it worn off? Only time will tell.
Judge Homer, he's definitely starting to look more like himself, which is not a surprise because he's one of the best baseball players in the world.
I would actually like to talk about the Twins now, who take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays. And I want to talk about them because the Yankees are heading to town. Okay, the Yankees are making their way up to Minnesota. And if any force in the world can rain on a parade in Minneapolis, it is the New York Yankees. The Twins beat the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. Carlos Santana went yard in all 3 of those games. Minnesota withstood a very good Alek Manoah outing. He was awesome through 6 innings. It was 62 pitches. They bring it back out for the 7th. Allows a 3-run home run after an Ernie Clement error. Probably would have led to the inning being over. If the Twins can win a home series against the Yankees, second place Yankees, half game back of the Orioles. If the Twins can beat the Yankees at home, I will believe in the energy. Does that make sense? This is the final vibes boss for the Twins.
I think that's fair. Yeah, no, I mean, they've obviously beat up on some bad teams, and the Blue Jays might be one of them. We'll see. They continue to struggle. So yeah, that'll be a nice little test this week. We will see if the sausage made its way to Canada, will make its way back home, and we'll see. We will see how it continues to evolve. All right, let's move on to Houston over Detroit. Jake, did you know that Kyle Tucker's leading the big leagues in home runs?
Dude, he's super good.
What? He is now leading the league with 13 homers. He's got 4 in his last 5 games. 5 in the last week. OPS plus up to 182, which is leading the American League. Almost even walks to strikeouts. And my God, is he boring, but my God, is he good. And it's another example of what has gone right for the Astros this year. They have, he's sort of made up, like Jordan has only been good, but Altuve, MVP level. Jeremy Pena has been tremendous. Like, he has been back. So they still have a lot going right on this offense. And Kyle Tucker has been at the forefront of that. Of course, the headline over the weekend is that Justin Verlander looked tremendous against the not very good Tigers. It was great to see for Verlander after he, of course, got sort of blasted by the Yankees in the previous start. But he goes 7 scoreless against the Tigers lineup that is just not good. It is not a good lineup. They have good pitching. They have a couple good hitters, but this is not a good lineup. Spencer Torkelson, congrats on your first home run. His OPS plus is still 79. Colt Keith, I feel for that kid. This is one where, you sign that big extension and you hope you can be, a contributor as a rookie for a team that's on the come up. He's really, really struggling. His OPS is 445. Javi Baez's OPS is 441. Again, bad lineup, but Verlander did what he needed to do, and the Astros take a much-needed series.
Phillies take 2 out of 3 over the Marlins in Miami. Nick Castellanos finally starting to hit some baseballs hard. He is a very interesting conundrum, right? Where the pitch that he crushes, and this will just pop in your head right away when I say it, is the breaking ball down. He's very good at kind of scooping that ball out or even taking it the other way. But the problem is hitting that while laying off the pitch just below that has, led to all those mental images of him flailing at breaking balls outside the zone. He's been a little bit more aggressive recently, and he's starting to drive the ball more. Bryson Stott looks really good. Ranger Suarez, another gem for him. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league so far this year. 2 other things. JT Realmuto has a sore knee.
Oh.
He did not play yesterday. Garrett Stubbs was in there. I think he's going to miss another game or 2, which means it's Garrett Stubbs time. Come on, Stubby.
That's good.
Drive a baseball, baby.
2 other quick Phillies things. A rare, super clunker from Zach Wheeler.
Yes.
Like very, very rare. And for it to come against the Marlins, I'm writing that off as a fluke, whatever. But he was just actively bad. Signs of life on offense for Johan Rojas? I mean, I think he had his hardest hit ball. He had a home run. I'm not going to get too excited there, but that would be a big development if he can be not a 0 on offense, because he can still play the hell out of center field.
Jesus Luzardo is back off the IL. He made a start. Wasn't great, but the Marlins just need him to show up and pitch so they can trade him for something to help them be a competent team in the year 2028. And then our last series, the Red Sox taking 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. Some spectacular starting pitching in this series across the board. Everyone did a great job, showed up on the bump, and got outs. Patrick Corbin on Friday, one of his best starts in forever, struck out a ton of hitters, allowed just 1 run in over 5 innings. Patrick Corbin, rage against the dying of the light. The Nats, however, dipped back under 500, losing those games on Saturday and Sunday. Jordan, let me ask you a question. Do the Nats get back over 500 this year?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to take a peek at their schedule coming up. Yes, they play the White Sox this week. And again, I know the White Sox are spunky, so maybe I'm discounting them. But it's going to happen here in these next few days, because 3 at the White Sox, then they go to Philly, home for the Twins and Mariners before they go to Atlanta for 4. So I think they'll get it done this week. I think they will get back over 500 this week. After that, we will see. But the Nationals are spunky. They are a solid team. Jacob Young, man. Jacob Young.
Yeah.
Jacob Young's a good player. And James Wood will be here soon. That's the other thing. If they can stay afloat to just get James Wood past the Super 2 cutoff, which is clearly what is happening for him right now, because he is raking in AAA, I think they could be really fun to watch in the second half.
The Red Sox staying afloat, 2 games over 500. Can't wait to watch the documentary whenever it comes out.
All right, Jake, one final bit of news before we say goodbye, and that is that Dylan Bundy has retired. Dylan Bundy, who we last saw in the big leagues I believe 2022, yes, with Minnesota. He actually wasn't that bad. He got traded to the Angels and was like really good in 2020 and then terrible in 2021. He was like just a normal workhorse in 2022, but that was this last year as a big leaguer at age 29. He decides to retire. And listen, Dylan Bundy was someone that meant a lot to both of us in his early days as a prospect. Of course, as the 4th overall pick in the 2011 draft by the Baltimore Orioles, is someone at a time when I was getting super into prospects. It was both Bryce Harper, going to see him in A-ball, and following him after he got drafted, and it was Dylan Bundy. And what Dylan Bundy did as a 19-year-old in 2012, the year after he got drafted, where he went to Delmarva and rattled off 30 scoreless innings, or I guess 30 innings with a 0 ERA, two runs in there. It was, as far as pitching prospects at lower levels, like it was a unbelievable run. He gets to the big leagues as a 19-year-old at the end of the season there, and he blows out. He comes back. He never quite finds that special. I mean, he had some good seasons in Baltimore, but that hype that he showed as that 19-year-old when he raced to the big leagues, pitched at 4 levels, we just never saw it again. And, it's unfortunate, but I hold those early memories of Dylan Bundy very, very close because he was a really special pitcher, and I'm glad that he still was able to have a fairly lengthy Major League career.
His legacy lives on with Kyle Bradish. That is who the Orioles got for Dylan Bundy when they traded him to the Angels. And I think that Dylan Bundy's retirement in the context of Paul Skenes' debut is a great reminder that we know very little. The excitement around Bundy was legitimate. The excitement around Skenes is legitimate, right? This is all fair. The road to success in the major leagues is full of potholes, many that we cannot foresee. We wish Paul Skenes nothing but the best in his career, and we wish Dylan Bundy nothing but the best in his retirement. And I do agree that he is a player who represents a lot of very interesting things to the two of us, and I just hope he has peace in the real world.
Yeah, and you mentioned the road to Major League success. It is often in the case of guys like Dylan Bundy, it is the road after you get there. What happens after you get there? And he's he taught us a lot, for better or for worse. But as you said, we wish him the best. A legend, the legend of Owasso, has hung up the spikes. All right, Jake, that's it. We're done. That is our podcast. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. On Wednesday, we will be talking about the new introduction of bat speed metrics at StatCast. Very excited to talk about those. But we'll get to that on Wednesday. Hopefully you enjoyed this weekend recap, the Skenes Day recap. Thank you to Andrew Hartz for producing. And thank you all for listening. And we will talk to you all